Kelly Giannone, look at me. I am the captain now. Back in the captain's chair, David Goss in studio in New York City for our World Cup First Touch 26 daily show every day at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And of course, out on podcast as we roll into the round of 32. Oh, Canada have been victorious, and we've got a lot more to talk about and a lot more to do. Thank you to all of you for being here with me. Of course, I am lucky enough to be joined today by Mr. Eric Krakauer and Matt Doyle. And every time the three of us are together, we will put up names on the bottom, and I will point to each one so you know which one of us is which. Eric could grow his beard out a little bit, although you have better hair follicles than us, too.
Slightly.
Yeah, slightly.
Yeah.
You're holding on for dear life up there, man.
Yeah,
Somebody's going to have the talk with you pretty
products
soon.
on there.
Listen, I think you look good. I wouldn't stress about it.
Yeah.
We've got a lot to talk about on this show. We've got 3 knockout games. It's win or go home time. The stress, I felt it in the Canada game. Also, I'm a bit of a Canada fan, so maybe that's a little different. But the stress of the win or go home nature, I think you start to feel now. We've got 3 huge games. You could argue the 2 best games of the round are on the same day. We've got Brazil versus Japan at 1 o'clock Eastern Time in Houston, and then at 9 o'clock at night in Monterrey, Mexico, and maybe the best setting there is. Although I love that the mountain in the background's like the big thing, and they just keep putting games at night so you can't see it. And they're like, look at the beauty, and every photo is not from the game that they was playing. Like, I can't believe I watched South Africa here, and you're like, that's not a photo from that game. That game was pitch black. But whatever.
They need to take a page out of the Philadelphia Union's book. They got to light that mountain up the way the bridge is lit up behind that stadium in Chester. Do we call it the Chester Stadium?
I don't.
Is that like FIFA standards?
Don't do that.
The Delaware River is not exactly the natural beauty maybe that some of these other places are. But we've got those 2 games, and then you get to see Germany out in a World Cup game, which is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And I think it's going to be really, really special for all the people up in Boston. I have a few friends that are going. Shout out to Steve and Evan, who have kept us going and build all these gorgeous graphics for us. They're going to be at the game, so really excited for those 2. And we'll give them a little preview action so they know what to watch for when we get there. You are wearing your Germany kit, so you're ready to go in the mint kit right there.
It's a beautiful kit.
Of course, we'll look back at the Canada game. We're going to talk about some of the big players who are starting to level up in our Football Manager segment. We will take a tactical look at Canada and what Doyle has seen as we get ready. We've got a tactical piece coming up on Bosnia as we prepare for the USA-Bosnia game on Wednesday. We will be talking about that the entire week. And, of course, we will be recapping every game as they go along and continuing to look through the bracket. But speaking of, normally I get your 3 things and we do a whole like feel-good story and whatnot. We're not going to do that today. Today is business. It's business time. We missed it by 1 day. Canada already played South Africa. I think, would anyone here have not chose that?
No,
I'm on record.
You are on record. You were on the show. You said 3-1, which
Yes.
I wish we lived in the world that you had created for
Yeah.
us. We're going to do our brackets right now. We're going to roll through the brackets. We're going to make our picks as we go forward. So Canada already qualified. They will play the winner of Netherlands versus Morocco. So let's go through each quadrant together. Let's make our picks, and let's see where we finish in the end. Doyle. Germany, Paraguay, France, Sweden. Make your picks.
I'm going with the Giants. I think Germany has too much for Paraguay, even though I don't like the way Germany have played so far. And I think France might score 8.
Ooh, 8. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have?
I'm in agreement. Complete agreement there.
Okay, so I'm going to go the same. So we've got Germany, France in a quarterfinal there.
So wait a minute. For the first 3 games, we've all made the same
this is going to go really well. There's going to be probably one game that defines the break.
Yeah, there's going to be one upset.
Right.
There we're either going to get right or totally wrong.
So on July 4th in Philadelphia, the Hessian soldiers and the French soldiers will face off to say who is the better ally of George Washington and the revolutionaries.
The Hessians were not allies
Fair.
of
Good point.
George Washington and the revolution.
The fact that they got fat and tired on
Christmas
Eve really helped on the Delaware. Who is
American
our pick?
history here.
Yeah. Who's our pick out of this one? France versus Germany.
France.
Yeah, I'm going to go the same. So we are all exactly the same. So that takes us into the quarterfinals there. So we've got France, all of us. Let's move down south. We've got Canada, Netherlands, Morocco. What are you picking today?
Everybody's hot on Morocco, and so am I. But there's something about how the Netherlands have played over the last 2 games that makes me think that they're going to beat Morocco.
I love what I've seen from the Netherlands in terms of what Ronald Koeman is doing tactically, and I'm not a big Koeman guy, but the way he's dropping Frankie de Jong to left center back and then pushing the left fullback up to deal with any sort of right side stuff, then releases Gakpo to be an attacker. I did not see this coming. I think they're playing really, really good soccer, and I actually think that Morocco's been kind of disappointing. Like, they have not been able to bring their full attack to bear in the way that they've done in the past in AFCON and a little bit 4 years ago. So,
I would actually disagree. I think this is the best attacking soccer Morocco has played since they made the World Cup semifinal in 2022. Ouabi, I think, has unlocked them more than Regari did in that he's allowing more freedom. But also, I think the Dutch will have more possession, and so that opens up Morocco to be playing in transition, which I like. So I'm going to go with Morocco winning this game. So here's our break.
It was just interesting that you have such divergent views about how Morocco is playing. And I think in part that has to do with the coach that's at the helm. You know, in 2022,
he looked like me. The guy in 2022 looked like me, so I liked it.
Yeah,
everybody was like, "Wow, that guy's so handsome."
And this guy's got hair.
Yeah, this guy's got hair, nicely slicked. But you know, a team that really sat back in 2022. This one wants to play with the ball a little bit more, and sometimes I think they're caught in a little bit of an identity crisis. Morocco.
Okay, so now you've got Morocco losing, so Netherlands, Canada. Who do you have winning?
Netherlands.
Okay.
Netherlands.
Doyle?
I'm not that impressed with Canada.
I'm not that impressed with Canada either, but I think they're saving it. So Canada into the quarters.
I'm also going to go Canada into the quarters, and this I feel good about both ways. We'll talk about it when we get into Canada. I think they want to play against the ball. I think the first 4 games they've played, they're not harder because you can't make a mistake in what's coming up, but they are outside of their game states comfortable, and now they kind of get a little more comfortable in this matchup. Also, 0 pressure on them. Okay, so we have a split there. Let's go into the next portion of the bracket. You want to start? You want to go last? You'll go last. Portugal versus Croatia.
Portugal. I think it'll be surprisingly easy.
Okay, Portugal, Croatia.
I don't know about surprisingly easy, but this is the matchup that I wanted for Portugal. I think they have all the tools that are necessary to overcome a quite disappointing Croatian national team.
And then I will go Portugal as well. Spain, Austria. I say Spain. 0 questions for me.
I'm a little torn on this one.
Interesting.
I think that Ralf Rangnick may have learned a few things from the Uruguay game, and there are similarities between the way he approaches matches and Bielsa. This is my upset.
Okay.
Austria defeats Spain.
Wow.
This guy's wish casting over here. It's Spain.
I am. Completely.
All right. Now take me one more level now. Here's the big one. Portugal versus Spain.
Spain.
No questions.
No questions.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. For you?
Well, if it's Portugal versus Austria, I'm going to go with Portugal.
Okay. Well, you've already picked that, so you have.
I know, but
you can't.
If Spain makes it.
That's not how that works. Okay. I'm going to go with Spain as well. So you've got Portugal. The two of us have Spain.
Yeah.
And that takes them into the the quarterfinals. Let's keep rolling here. We obviously are going to dig into all these games. We're going to talk about a bunch of these teams today, but this is our quick run through of where we're going to think we land. U.S. against Bosnia. Yep.
U.S.
U.S. as well, yeah.
And Belgium against Senegal.
I'm going to go with Belgium.
Both of these teams have been disappointing.
This is like the hardest part about this.
That said, Senegal might have found something in that final group stage game, and I don't think they'll mind playing against the ball against Belgium. So I think Senegal's going to get through.
I also am going to pick Senegal. I've been wildly underwhelmed by them, and my worry about this is in what you just said. I watched them against France. And they got picked apart when they got under more pressure, but it felt like France's elite talent that did that, and I don't know that Belgium.
Yeah, France turned it on in the second half. Yeah.
So, okay, so 2 of us have Senegal, you have Belgium, so USA, Belgium.
USA.
Yeah. USA, Senegal.
USA.
I'm going to go USA as well, so 0 chance it happens. So we've really figured this one out pretty quickly, which I appreciate us taking the time. This is, to me, the most delicious part of the bracket. Brazil, Japan, and Ivory Coast, Norway. Brazil versus Japan, that one will be today in Houston. Ivory Coast, Norway will be tomorrow in Dallas in Jerry World. I will start. I will say Brazil on the top side and Ivory Coast on the bottom side of this.
I completely agree with those two picks.
Okay.
So do I, but I'll take.
Don't zag to
No.
zag. Make your pick.
No, exactly.
I'm going to take Brazil and Norway.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, you have the Vikings
He's
moving
a Holland
through.
stan.
Okay, now take us one more level. Brazil, Norway.
Even though Brazil haven't played that well
Yeah.
with the ball, they've been so good against the ball, and I just don't believe in Norway's ability to play out. So,
And I think Brazil beat Ivory Coast, but it will be thin margins.
Yeah, I would say I have Brazil too. I think that's a tough matchup. Jan Diamande, 130 million euro man right now.
he believes in the project at PSG.
Yeah.
Oh, do you?
I do too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I do
He's
too.
actually really inspired by the
Yeah.
work of the
Yeah.
Qatari government. That they're, I saw that too. I will say this: he could probably afford to go to high school now in America for the first time. Let's move to the next quadrant. We go down to Mexico City. So Mexico, Ecuador is in Mexico City. England will play DR Congo in Atlanta. The winner of that will then travel to Mexico City to play the winner of Mexico, Ecuador. So that's one of the big, I think, travel points of this is one of these teams, whether it's DR Congo or England, will have to go to altitude. There is a 4-day gap between games. So there's two theories with altitude. Go early or go late. I think they might go late because they have no choice. And Connor has explained it to me because I went to Colorado to run a half marathon or Arizona, and we got in like 8 days before, and he goes, nah, you messed up, dude. You either go late because you don't want your recovery of your body to be affected as little as possible because you won't adjust, or you go super early and you
you can
eventually
adjust.
adjust. And DR Congo and England will sit right there in the middle. Let's start with the Mexico game. Eric?
You know what? I feel like from what I saw from Ecuador against Germany gives me hope that they can overcome Mexico. Altitude is not going to be a factor for them. So I think the upset here is Ecuador.
Okay.
I love Julian Quinones, but I just don't see how they break that Ecuador block.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll be the outlier. I go with Mexico. I think the home advantage, I think the block stuff is true. It's going to be a 1-goal game because
Yeah,
neither of these
it's gonna
teams
go
can
to
score.
penalties. It's gonna go to
And if I'm taking the what are the small advantages, not only will I take the home team, I think one of the things, and you're totally right, Ecuador probably plays at altitude more often than Mexico, is that Mexico's been in it for 2 months, though.
Yeah.
And Ecuador, for as long as this layoff is, they have to go down there and readjust to an extent. Plus, you add the smog, and you add the fact that it's home field advantage. I mean,
There's
have
not
you
much,
run-
there's not as much smog as there used to be.
I'm sorry, Doyle. Have you run around in Mexico City recently? There's not that much smog.
Plus, it's the rainy season. It's,
Look at
it's
this elite
come on.
athlete. It doesn't even affect his body. England, DR Congo.
I want England.
Yeah.
England.
England as well.
All right, now take me one more step. Ecuador, England at altitude in Mexico City.
Ecuador.
Okay, I am going Mexico in that game. So all of us have England getting knocked
So
out.
we have 3 CONCACAF teams getting into the
You're winning over
quarterfinals.
all those L Tree
I think
fans.
Curacao might win the whole thing.
We got to get you like the Rob Lowe CONCACAF hat.
Listen, man, Panama got screwed, and they've always gotten screwed, and that's the reality. Argentina, Cape Verde, Australia, Egypt. Now, Argentina, Cape Verde is in Miami, so it is outside at heat, and we saw the effect on Portugal. Feels really hard to say that it's going to be anything but Argentina, so I am going Argentina. Does anyone disagree?
No,
I
it's
do not
Argentina.
disagree.
All right. And then Australia versus Egypt.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's a really tough one.
I am going with Egypt. Oh, sorry, I'm going with Australia. I still, even though they dropped off as the tournament went along, I think this is an Egypt team really unsure of themselves. I mean, the chances they give up against Iran where pure goalkeeper comes off his line, can't read the play. If you're going to make mistakes like that and not be a great offensive possession team, I just don't know how you go through. And I think Australia are really confident in the way they play.
And they're playing indoors.
They are
And I
playing
think that's going to
indoors.
help
Yeah.
Australia a little bit. So I'm going to go with Australia.
I don't think the setting helps either team. Australia can't score. It's tough, but their keeper's good. They're pitching shutouts. They know who they are. Very low scoring game, maybe even penalties.
They've got a lot of speed, though.
And
that
Well,
is-
if the coach plays them,
yes, that's true.
He played them in the third game.
Yeah,
He's
good-
going to play
good job,
them. I
Tony.
assume Argentina across the board in Atlanta. Okay. And let's go to the final one here. So we've got Switzerland, Algeria in Vancouver. We've got Colombia, Ghana in Kansas City. So reminder again, KC outdoor stadium, little bit of heat. We've seen it be a factor. What are our picks across these? You start with Switzerland.
So I know
Algeria.
you hate Switzerland.
Yeah.
The way they play when Manzambi is on the pitch, it's just night and day. And like, hopefully this kid is a starter.
He's got a
now.
personality.
He's well, not just that. He's got a brain, man. The way he moves around in that attacking third, I think is brilliant. I think
you're a big Chelsea fan, so granted, Xhaka's move has now brought you back on board.
Yeah, exactly. I like Monzavi might be the most impressive young player at this tournament so far. So I think Switzerland go through.
That's why he was one of our Football Manager leveled ups. We told him to
Football
start him.
Manager knows.
Yeah, Football Manager knows. Switzerland, Algeria.
You know what? I think Switzerland, they haven't wowed me, but Algeria, you don't know what you're going to get. And that inconsistency scares me. They have so much talent.
Yeah.
So much talent.
I'm going to go Switzerland as well, as much as I don't like them. I've been really underwhelmed by Algeria's consistency, and therefore I don't trust them over a big 90, 120 minutes.
Lack identity as well.
Yeah.
Who are they?
I am going with Colombia on the other side against Ghana.
I'm going to go with Colombia, but I will say this very quickly.
You were a little more scared about Ghana.
I think Queiroz is one of the best architects of the deep block of parking the bus.
Haram ball.
And I saw that Colombia struggled when DR Congo did that.
Yeah.
But when DR Congo opened up, they were there for the taking, and that's why Colombia ended up winning that game. So I think Colombia make it, but it's going to be tougher than most people think.
I was telling you about this list I saw of the teams that run the most in the world. Oh, sorry, it was a list of every team in the World Cup with the amount they've run. Colombia was second to last. They were like the only team in the bottom six
Hamas.
or seven. And it's like, oh, wow. But then the question becomes, does that mean they've saved their legs to turn it up, or can they not turn it up as the tournament goes on?
I'm surprised by that stat.
Yeah, I
because
thought
they
they
outran
were-
the Portuguese.
Yeah, they
by
were covering
far.
a good amount of ground.
I felt so as
Yeah.
well. I guess they've been so dominant in possession that the amount of ground covered has been also, I don't know how this is calculated.
By the way, that
BS.
duality about Colombia is actually their biggest
All right, so
strength.
Colombia, Switzerland, no question for me, Colombia. Now, I will say this. This is to note. Colombia played in Miami against Portugal. They will go to Kansas City. They will then go to Vancouver. So it is physically the largest amount you could travel outside of Guadalajara to Toronto. And then secondly, Colombia will play two of the hottest outdoor stadiums coming into this game. Then they will go inside where Switzerland played their final group stage game in Vancouver. They will play their knockout game in Vancouver, and then if they were to win, another knockout game in Vancouver. So I think it's a factor. And amongst all of that, I pick Colombia.
Yeah. I think that's a no-brainer.
I'm gonna pick. You just talked me into picking the Swiss.
Hell yeah. That's
Really?
why I did
Yeah.
it. That's
No.
why
I don't.
did
I
it.
feel. I feel awful about it because I love Colombian soccer, but
Yeah.
we watch MLS. We know what a grind it is for teams to travel, especially with players who aren't used to it. So what I'm saying is they should start Cucho Hernandez for the rest of this tournament.
I'm going with Colombia.
All right, let's move to the next stage. We have Colombia, Argentina. You have Switzerland, Argentina.
I think we're all going to have Argentina.
Nope, I've got Colombia.
Yeah,
I'm fully pilled.
I decided this morning, when I realized we were doing this, that I'm going with Colombia. There's just something about the way they played against Portugal that was very convincing to me.
Yeah, they dominated the game. They also have belief in playing against Argentina. They believe they were the better team in the 24 final.
They were.
They were.
Which is the fear, is they were. The fear with Colombia is they can't finish.
Yeah.
No one at center forward has held the spot that to an extent in which you can overplay Lucho Diaz in the attacking third. I just think top to bottom, Colombia has more belief in their cohesion and the way they play. And I think they're going to have a lot of confidence going into that game.
They've also figured out, I think, that starting Cordoba and bringing Luis Suarez off the bench is the way to go.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Cordoba moves nowhere, but dominates the 6 yards he's inside
Yeah.
of. And you can play into his feet, and
He's
if
a
he can
bully.
turn, he gets chances. Okay, that takes us into between the four of us. I have Mexico against Brazil. You guys have Ecuador against Brazil. This game, by the way, will be in Miami.
I'm going to have to go with Brazil. Just because if Brazil score, I don't know how Ecuador get back into that game.
Yeah, set pieces would be the only way,
Yeah.
right? I have to go with Brazil as well. I can't believe I'm picking Brazil to go this far
I
after
know.
I've been
I have-
shitting on them for 4 years.
I know.
I have Brazil as well. I think all of what you've talked about, the way they play out of possession, who they are, I think they are settled into that right now. And we also don't know when Rafinha will come back, but that would only be a plus for them.
Well, they have the Rafinha replacement.
In Ryan, we're going to talk about him coming up in a little bit. Okay, so now we are up into the higher side of the bracket. All of us had USA, so it'll be USA against Spain for us and USA against Portugal for you.
Start with him.
Okay.
He's torn, folks.
I'm What about Portugal has been convincing in any way or confidence-inducing? The talent. But, you said it this morning. Nobody's run more than the United States. I think tactically they have a really good blueprint. Oh, my goodness. I'm going with the U.S.
Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah. I'll never be allowed back in Portugal.
That's fine. It turns out you're not anyway.
Mama, I love you.
Doyle?
Spain.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Spain as well. I will say this. I've been thinking about this over the last few days. If I had to play one of the top 3, it would be Spain for the U.S. rather than France or Argentina. I think they've shown themselves to be susceptible. I think they've shown themselves to be who they've been for the last 8 years, which is massive
European champions?
Massive possession and show real frustration as it doesn't work. If you can hang for the first 20-plus minutes, the difference is Lamine Yamal. That's what made them European champions. And Inaki Williams. Inaki Williams seems to be unavailable for potentially the rest of the tournament. The difference between 2018 losing to Russia in the round of 16 and scoring your only goal on Sergio Ramos' set piece where he was falling over, couldn't see the ball, and it went in, and the European championship was Lamine Yamal. So now the question is he fully healthy? Is he available every single game? How much can you get from him? I'm picking Spain, but of those 3 teams, that would be the one I'd want to play because I think you can go in with belief that if you can stay in the game long enough, you've got an opportunity. And with France, it's like batten down the hatches and pray. And Argentina just don't even care about the way soccer's played. They just do what they do. Reminder that game would be at SoFi. So the U.S. would go up to Seattle, but they would be near their base camp for that game.
And so you have the U.S. getting into the semis.
Yeah.
You love it, baby.
It's crazy to think about it.
USA.
But the only reason I have the U.S. getting into semis is because of the matchups.
Right.
Yeah. Well, the issue for you is you have Austria beating Spain. Let's do the last quarterfinal.
Laugh now, my friend.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah,
let's do the last quarterfinal. So we have, what is it now? Canada versus, you guys have Netherlands. I have Morocco. Let's get our picks.
Canada versus Morocco?
You have Netherlands.
I've got Netherlands, I was going to say. So wait a minute. So Netherlands versus Canada. That's a no-brainer. Netherlands.
Yeah, I feel the same way as I did about picking Brazil to go this far. Like I went into this tournament not really liking much about the Netherlands, but I got Canada's done great. But
there's an economist who picked the final to be Portugal-Netherlands. He's picked apparently like the last God knows how many finals correctly. He's got Portugal-Netherlands in the final.
Well, he's wrong.
Yeah, because they're on the same side of the bracket. But Netherlands winning was the point.
Yeah.
And then we all did France over Germany, right?
Yes.
I think I'm like missing a whole quadrant of the bracket. So we would have France.
I don't think.
Oh, no, sorry. So France. Sorry, I gave you guys all the wrong game last game.
That's why I was a little confused.
Yeah, France, Netherlands would be where you're at right now.
Exactly.
Oh, going into the quarter.
Yes.
So you have Netherlands. That's where I didn't get to. You have Netherlands beating Canada.
Yes.
I have Canada beating Morocco.
Okay.
Then we get into France versus the winner of that. You're all taking France?
France.
Yeah.
Okay. That's your semifinal
France
team.
versus the field, essentially.
And I'm taking France over Canada in that game. So we've got France versus Spain.
Yep.
France versus USA. And then we've got Brazil versus Colombia. And you guys have Brazil versus Argentina. Those are your World Cup semifinals.
No, I picked Colombia too against Argentina.
So we have that.
Yeah.
First of all, if it's Brazil, Argentina,
Argentina.
France, Spain, Fox is counting money. Telemundo is going to shut down the day after on all-time profit highs and be like, this is our business model now. This is what we do. Jesus, man. If it's Argentina, Brazil, and Spain, France, they got to close
That's
the
pretty
whole
good,
thing.
yeah.
Jules Remit is arriving from the grave made of money. This is wild to me. All right, so Spain, France. Well, you could do France, USA first.
I mean, it's France.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's France USA in the semifinal, I'm going to that game.
Are you bringing the Statue of Liberty with you? Or are you going to leave it?
An inflatable.
My wife will dress as the Statue
great,
of Liberty. Yeah.
Great. I want you to dress as the Statue of Liberty.
We'll see.
France, Spain for you.
Spain. I picked Spain to win the thing at the start of the tournament,
And
even though they haven't been great,
Yeah.
and I'm worried about Lamine Yamal not looking 100% fit. Spain.
Okay, I'm going to go with France in that one. And then on the other side, I have Colombia, Brazil. You have Colombia, Brazil. You have Brazil, Argentina. So why don't you go first?
Argentina.
All right. What do you think?
I'm gonna stick with Colombia.
Hell yeah.
I'm gonna stick with Colombia. Vamos los cafeteros. Yeah. I'm gonna stick with Colombia. Brazil have gradually gotten better. Colombia is still out of the two teams a little bit more impressive. I wonder whether the intimidation factor, because you are playing against a world power that's looking for their 6th World Cup. But yeah, Colombia.
I'm going to go with Brazil. I think one of my issues is I think Colombia is a thin roster.
Yep.
And so I think the further they go, and also the fact that they have the travel we talked about, and they do play almost the most amount of outdoor games, because they would come back if they were to win and play Argentina. They would do so in Kansas City. So they would go Miami, KC, Vancouver, KC, to then get to Atlanta for a semifinal. So I'm going to go with Brazil in my matchup.
Do you think that Brazil's midfield won't be tired as well?
I think that's a fair question.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's this team so deep.
Yeah.
They've made some rotation as well already. Fabinho's like 1,000 years old, but he's pretending to be 32, which I don't understand how that's possible. Yeah.
Guimarães does a lot of running on both sides of the ball.
Yeah. I think it's a fair question.
Yeah.
This is not a deep Brazil team. I don't clearly Vinicius playing 90 minutes in the final group stage game these are our 15 pieces and this is what we'll use. But Colombia, James in the starting lineup, the lack of a center forward we talked about.
Yep.
They have 3 center mids, which I like. They have 3 center backs, which I like. I thought Santi Arias looks old. He played well against Portugal.
Yeah, I thought he played well.
That's embarrassing for Portugal. That was not Santi Arias being anything special.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow, Fabinho's only 32.
That's what I'm saying. He's cosplaying as a 32-year-old. He's a deep 32.
And a better player than people give him credit for.
Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's finish this up here. I don't even know where our stand-ups have. So you have Spain, Argentina.
Yeah.
I have France, Brazil, and you have France, Colombia.
Vamos los cafeteros.
I hope Eric's is right.
Me too.
Yeah.
I would absolutely.
We're going to Jackson Heights. We'll be doing the show live on the ground in Jackson Heights.
And then it'll be the last show we'll ever do.
I said yesterday that every single one of my predictions has been wrong so far. And I don't see that changing at all. Except in the final.
So I'm going to take France in the final over Brazil.
Wow, replay of the 1998 World Cup, eh? I'm going to go with France, too.
Okay. And you're going with Spain, I assume, because you said
yeah.
you have to stick to them for some reason that no one knows? Boom. You guys are done. You're welcome. That is the World Cup, the way it happens.
None of this is going to happen.
No, but
Portugal is going to win the whole thing.
It's cool that we got a bracket now, so we can actually see how things will play out and how things will progress. I do think some of the factors to watch out for, the teams playing in Mexico City, dealing with altitude, then having to recover from that. I mean, it is going to be, if let's say England gets through, to go altitude and then outdoor in Miami to get to Atlanta is going to be a wild physical experience. And then for Mexico and Ecuador, the same. I'd be surprised if we were talking about DR Congo at the end of all that, but I'd be super happy if that was the case. Okay. That was the 10 minutes that I said it would be off the top of the show. As always, right on time, like we love to do. Let's dig into the one game we've seen so far. Let's go to this South Africa-Canada game. It is our soccer.com segment of the day. Don't forget, soccer.com is your site to find all the kits that you want to support all these teams as we go through the tournament. Do you love Canadian heroes? Canadian heroes now are amongst us, as Jesse Marsh has said. If you want to rep your Canada heroes, go to soccer.com, find your kit, order it. Free shipping over any order over $49. And if you put kickback in when you sign up, you get a Goal Club membership. You picked Canada yesterday. You had a couple more goals in your prediction. What did you make of what you saw in this game?
Apart from the result, I think I got everything right. Neither one of these teams wants to play with the ball. We knew that South Africa was going to sit deep. You know that Canada wants to play against the ball. And when they do have the ball, they're not very good at playing penetrative football. Yeah. And we saw it against South Africa yesterday. That said, if you have enough of the ball against a team that won't counterattack often and won't counterattack efficiently, because I thought that was South Africa's issue. When they did have space, they didn't utilize it particularly well. Chances are going to present themselves, and that's exactly what happened to Canada. They didn't take advantage of the few that went their way, and then Eustachio's strike is the difference. So the reason I said 3-1, just to add to that, is because I felt that something would bounce Canada's way in the beginning
and then
to open up South
Yeah.
Africa, which would have actually helped South Africa because they have more ability going forward than they even give themselves credit for.
I mean, think about AFCON this year. They gave up early goals, and they threw the entire team at a wall, and it's a wall because no one breaks anything down. It really is just direct balls. Can we get extra runners in? Will something fall to us?
They are a direct team. They are a direct team. It's when they get to that final third, there's a pass missing. They pull the trigger a little bit too quickly. I mean, every time the ball lands at Makuena's feet outside the 18, his only thought is, I'm going to shoot the ball as hard as I can.
One of the things I thought was interesting because of the nature of South Africa, and I think we're going to talk about it in our tactical segment right here, is Canada drops off a little bit more. And there's been a few different reasons for it over the course of the tournament.
Yeah, one of them is that Moise Bambito is not 100% back yet, but if you watch the first 60 minutes yesterday, Canada were pressing a lot higher and harder than they did the final 30 minutes after he came off. And he is one of the best center backs in the entire world at covering and behind. So that's one of the reasons I think that South Africa was ineffective going on the counter.
He did look a little bit slower than usual, though.
He did. But still really freaking fast.
And here's my question for both of you. We knew that he was going to start and that he was going to get an hour of football because Jesse Marsch wants to get him up to speed by any means necessary. But do you think it's a risk to play him for 60 minutes in a game like this? And then bringing in the Fujiro.
You're saying changing center backs at all?
Changing center backs? Especially considering how the different profiles
I used to feel that way a little bit more. I think I've changed with the 5 subs. I just think people are more... I used to say like center backs like goalkeepers, you don't change them. I think it's changed a little bit. The other thing now with knockouts and with the nature of substitutions, if there are guys that I think have minutes limits, I start them. I don't want that guy on the field in the 110th minute and then I can't figure it out. I want to start them, and if it's bad, it's the 25th minute sub, it's the 45th minute sub. And so I think Jesse Marsch has clearly put his name on Moise Bambito being a part of this team by keeping him in the group after the first injury, keeping him on the roster. Like he has said over and over, he's been loyal to us, we are loyal to him. If he's going to play him, this is where you play him. And if you're going to play that guy, I think you do so from the start. But let's take a look at our first touch tactics board presented by Football Manager 26.
Canada at this World Cup and under Jesse Marsch overall have built their identity on aggression, high pressing, 4-4-2, hunting as a unit, suffocating teams in their own half. And a lot of the time it's worked. Dominant second half versus Bosnia and Herzegovina, 6 goals against Qatar, an impressive group stage overall. But first against the Swiss and then against South Africa in the round of 32, we saw something different, something a little more flexible. Canada selectively dropped their line of confrontation. Instead of pressing high all the time, they sat in a mid-block, compact, patient midfield as the barrier. Why? Because they've been running into teams set up to spring the press. Long balls and runners in behind. It's the risk any pressing team takes. So Marsch has been mitigating it as Moise Bambito, one of the best center backs in the world at covering in behind, works his way back to full fitness. And here's the key tactical wrinkle. By sitting deeper, Canada created space behind South Africa's backline. The moment they won the ball in midfield, there was a chance to run in behind. If South Africa's backline dropped early, though, then there was a corridor of 30 or 40 yards to attack into. Plenty of room in the half spaces. What they've lacked so far is the quality to break the game open from those spots. Maybe Alphonso Davies' return to fitness helps with that, or maybe Jonathan David is ready to snap out of his slump. Either way, Canada aren't just a high-energy team anymore. They're a thinking team. The teams that go far at World Cups don't just do one thing well. They adapt. Canada are showing they can maybe be one of them. The question now is whether the quality catches up with the talent.
So a tactical wrinkle from a team that we thought would be not pragmatic, zealots about what they do. And Jesse has been in his whole career, but it has gotten them now to a round of 16.
Yeah, and I think you need to have, as I said on the video, you need to have more than just one way to win a game in this World Cup if you want to stick around for a while. And they've kind of developed ad hoc a little bit over the past 2 games, this mid-block that has worked. And obviously it didn't lead to a ton of goals, but I thought it led to complete dominance. And it did lead to more, like they got into a ton of good spots over the final half hour of this game. They just were missing the final ball. And that's going to be the question. with Canada. It's like, do they have someone who could provide that? Now, if Alphonso Davies is healthy for 45 minutes, then yes, they do. Whether he's playing left midfield, left back, inverted on the right. I think Ali Ahmed can also do that. I was disappointed he didn't get the start over Liam Miller, but there's suddenly these variables in terms of how they're going to set up, and that makes them more difficult to prepare for. And then if you add Bombito and Cornelius getting healthy, there's a lot of reasons to like Canada, even though they are fundamentally kind of limited.
They've also been fortunate. They were fortunate with the draw and the group that they were placed in, and then fortunate that they get South Africa as their first knockout game coming out of whatever group that is, because I forget what
Group A.
Group A? There you go. Group A.
All I know is Group A and Group G suck. So if you think something's bad, just guess Group A or Group G.
So you have to ride your luck a little bit. There were some performances that I want to highlight. I thought Alistair Johnson was really good in this game. His movement is exceptional. The fact that he doesn't seem to drop a level no matter what minute of the game you're in. I thought Larea, I know you have issues with Larea starting, but I think he's very good on the ball. He's also very good at baiting his opponents.
He's the king of CONCACAF.
Although I have to say that out of all the games that I've watched him play in, this was the one where he got less involved in those sort of conflicts.
But even it's like he plays it out clearly. He turns to the ref, and it's like, it's a throw in, and then it like doesn't stop. He's like really pushing it. And you're like, Richie's in there.
But
now,
that's
I will
minimal
say this,
for him.
I thought the penalty kick claim for him in this one, right, where he gets into the box, he winds up to shoot, South African leg comes in, was the least penalty kick claim, whatever, that Richie has ever done. I thought he had a legitimate claim.
I thought it was a stone cold pen.
Yeah, but Richie does nothing to create that. Like, he legitimately is just playing. Where normally he's quick to go down, he throws his hands up.
On that penalty, I will say this. When I saw the replay, penalty, even though there's a little touch of the ball, but he goes through the player.
Goes through the back of the
but
player.
because he touches the ball, I think that once you go to VAR, they're going to say it's not clear and obvious. I anticipated all of that.
I thought it was a penalty on the field, and the moment they didn't call it, I said I don't think they're going to review, because I didn't think it would be clear and obvious to come to.
They're not going to review. Oh, you mean not going to the monitor?
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. Stakio is another guy. Sorry, real quick. What a baller, man.
Well, finally, a number 7 for Portugal scores in the knockout rounds of the World Cup. I just gave you that.
Colin Miller, the guy who tweeted that out, who works for The Athletic. You're being a troll, and I really like you, and I really like your work. And I didn't feel bad for Cristiano Ronaldo. I felt bad for Luis Figo.
No, Stakio obviously not fully fit for the third game of the group stage. It's a factor, and I think as you go forward into this next game, he's going to be even more important. Because what we've seen for Canada over the last 5-6 years as this group's come together is games where they're against the ball. Eustakio's ability to play from deep to get them out on the run is the most important thing for them, or to relieve pressure with one or two quick touches.
He creates a little bit of tempo, which they rarely have in possession, and part of that is by design.
That's a really
Jesse
good point.
doesn't want necessarily to have tempo with the ball, but there are times that you need to have it, and whether they're playing Morocco or the Netherlands next, they can win.
Yeah.
Canada can win another game, at least in this tournament.
And that's what I think is exciting for this team is it's genuine that they can believe they go into the next game with a chance that if they play their way. Now, what's disappointing for me from afar is there have been a ton of times, and I think 2024 Copa America, the key of this team when they play sharp, they're able to break out of pressure. They're able to get into good spots. They can do a lot with very little possession and opportunities. And this team has wasted possession for 4 straight games. So they're not...
Half their best players are hurt.
100%. They are not sharp.
Yeah.
And this is a team that when sharp, each guy can be great in their moments. And that's enough to come together and beat teams that are bigger than them and better than them. We've seen it in the Gold Cup. We've seen it in Nations League. We've seen it in World Cup qualifying for 2022, what they did down in Mexico, what they did in the U.S., what they did against the U.S. at home. That's not where this team sits right now. So they kind of have to magically get there to be able to win a matchup against the Netherlands or Morocco. But the fact that they are capable of it, where
they're getting healthier and healthier.
And in the past, it would have been, we'll play our perfect game and we'll still lose because we're not good enough. They are clearly talented enough. Alphonso Davies obviously would be huge.
Yep.
He comes back. He plays about 15 minutes off the bench.
It'd be nice if Jonathan David showed up as well.
It would be really
So that's
cool.
exactly what I was going to mention. I think that if Canada are to stand a chance against the Netherlands or Morocco, a couple things need to happen. Their wingers need to play better. Miller
Oh, you mean
hasn't
Tajon
performed.
Buchanan shouldn't be the worst player on the field for a 5th
I mean,
straight?
at
I
this
thought
point,
I thought he was better
if
than Miller.
Alphonso Davies can go 60 minutes, I start him and Ali Ahmed on the wings.
Yeah, Ali Ahmed is the one that we all agree should get a little bit more of a look. And Jonathan David, he did a few things yesterday, which I really liked. The way he protected the ball in possession, used his body to shield it. But he's so slow in his reactions in the box. Yeah. Even the way he opened up, there's a chance where he gets the ball inside the 18, and he's making the wrong decision. He's opening up to the left. In that situation, quick touch to the right and cut it across goal.
He's 10 yards away.
Yeah. Instinctively, he's not the Jonathan David that I got so used to at Lille, and I don't know what is going on with that guy.
Italy ruins everything.
The other thing I would say is that I thought he has a chance to put his body on the line for the shot that
was a diving header, the Mbakazi save,
and and it's it's a dangerous moment, but you're the
David Goss would have laid out.
You're the captain of the national team.
An Argentine would have put his head there.
Yeah, maybe. I don't I don't know why we're giving him credit, but I'll take it. We should move on, but we got to talk about Jesse Marsch because we know him very well. We've worked around him. We've covered him forever. We've followed his entire career. He is now the center of the world for a little bit, which Jesse Marsch loves.
Yeah, he's enjoying it. He's enjoying the moment.
There's the post-game speech on the field. There's some of the antics along the sideline. There's the way he talks. So let me start
here. The halftime moment with Bombito that we can't, paper over. Can I just go there real quick?
Sure.
Because he's heading towards the referee, Pinheiro, Portuguese referee. I can't believe he's at the World Cup. And Moise Bombito intercepts him. And it wasn't just, let me grab you and push you away or pull you away. He stuck a finger basically in his chest, almost as if to say, you promised you were not going to do this. I don't want you to get sent off. Go to the locker room. Go to the locker room. Yeah. Very sort of parental. And that told me a lot about their relationship. And also, I guess it could go beyond just his relationship with Marsch, but maybe the relationship all these Canadian players have developed with Jesse.
So what does it tell you? Because I have a take on this as well.
What does it tell me? It tells me that there isn't
hierarchy.
Jesse can be, there is a hierarchy, but sometimes you can have a very authoritative, dictatorial, I'm using that term loosely, relationship between coach and players. I think what he's developed is an understanding that he's the top dog, but that you can go at him. If you feel that he's out of line, he has given certain leaders on his team responsibility.
Everybody holds everybody else
Everybody's
accountable.
holding a string.
Yeah, and I loved that. I thought that was a really revealing moment. I called it out in one of my group chats as well, and I felt the same way as he was like, oh, okay, they're all locked in, and they love this coach.
One of the other things is there's a kind of like set in stone relationship amongst coaches and players in many countries around the world. Like I didn't know that in Argentina, coaches ask permission to come into the locker room ever. Coaches don't have a space in the locker room.
I didn't know that either.
They ask permission and they're allowed in by the team if they want to speak to the team.
Verify that.
It's been told to us by people who play in Argentina.
He wouldn't say something that is not well sourced.
Yeah, obviously. and you've heard, obviously, all of the angst and consternation around South Korea and what's happened to them, and part of the reaction coming out of having a Portuguese manager who did very well, and then dovetailing that into Jurgen Klinsmann, which is always a train wreck, was, well, we need a coach who understands the culture and understands the players, right? Yes. And that's why they went back to a Korean coach who had already failed at the national team because they felt that was the need. I do think one of the things that's interesting, and I thought it was fitting that Peter Schmeichel was on the postgame show for Fox and was complaining about the on-field speech that Jesse gave and how everyone calls it Ted Lasso and all of that, is that there is not a Canadian soccer culture. You're building it.
Right.
And I believe because the athletes come up in a space with other athletes around them, that it is closer to an NFL, NBA, NHL culture. And I think the way Jesse understands that, because he's from the U.S. and has been obviously coached in Montreal and all that, fits even better to what the group is, because if you had Carlo Ancelotti, which would be a dream scenario, Carlo Ancelotti is going to treat it the way he's treated every locker room. And that's not how these players are. And I do think this environment of let's scream at each other, let's be on the field together, let's yell at halftime. I'm going to give a rah-rah speech in front of the cameras. I'm going to go out and say we don't give a shit on post-game interview. I think that connects to the players a little bit more. And I think that's where he was the right fit for this job from a culture point of view, because these players are not steeped in a culture that he's coming to learn. They're building building it together.
They're building, so they're unifying a collection of microcultures in Canada, because Canada does have a soccer culture. It's just disparate.
Yeah.
And what the national team can do, and what the U.S. team has tried to do over the course of many, many decades, is stitch it all together. And I think that's what we're seeing happen in real time. That's
I also
why
don't
it's
understand.
produced some of the greatest, like the home crowds that we've seen for all of the host countries have been like the best home crowds I've ever seen.
And listen, I know that we need to move on, but I don't understand the need to pick at every single behavior exhibited by different coaches or players.
Anything that's different is bad.
Right.
But then when the bad thing that's normal goes wrong, it's like, why didn't you do something different?
I gotta say, you mentioned Schmeichel on that. I don't love a lot of Carly Lloyd's commentary, but I loved her being like, "Yeah, we won 3 World Cups.
We did that
every
single
single time."
No, exactly.
Shut up, Peter.
Exactly. And I've got a friend who's a film producer here in New York.
A little.
But he wrote an article that I find very interesting. For a long time, he's English, but he's lived in New York for a long time. He said for a long time he railed against what he considered American soccer culture. And then he had this sort of epiphany. I need to embrace this.
Yeah.
I'm in their country. This is their soccer culture. Why do I feel that I have to infiltrate
And that
my
was the
own
first Englishman ever to feel that way.
to feel that way. And I think he's right. So why are you taking a dig at the way that Jesse Marsch is having this conversation? Do I think it's a little bit tacky? Yes, but I'm not in that insular world that they cohabitate.
And I do think one of the things that gets lost with Jesse is there's a lot of bluster. There's a lot of BS.
Yeah.
He builds up this persona, and I think the team takes the persona. And the reality that Canada, and I tell you, I've watched Canadian soccer for 15, 20 years. You have as well. You've been around here for a while now. As you talk to Canada fans, they still don't believe that this is real.
Yeah.
And you're like, South Africa, you have to beat them. And every Canadian fan yesterday was like, I can't eat this morning. I'm going to throw up. We're going to lose. And so everything Jesse's doing is building this persona for the players so that when they step on the field against the Netherlands and Morocco, they'll go, of course we're going to win. We don't give a shit. We don't care about anything. And that doesn't happen overnight. Yeah. And for everything everyone will say of show the speech from Miracle and then do a thing, whatever, you have to genuinely get these guys to believe. And that's what Jesse built. And to Jesse's credit, he knows that it's going to come crashing down on him one day, because that's just how this ends. Unless they win the World Cup, that's how it will end. And to his credit, he does it because it's the right thing to do for the team, and he got a 4-year contract already, so he doesn't really care.
And I will say, the box is checked. Successful World 100%. Cup for Canada, no matter what happens.
Go out and play strong in the next game. Speaking of microcultures, by the way, congratulations to everyone who had a ticket to the round of 32 in Toronto that was looking to flip it, because it's Portugal against Croatia in a city that is Portuguese and Croatian immigrants.
Sell that and you can retire.
If only you could get Califlori to show up and play for Italy as a third party, you'd sell that thing for $55,000. All right, let's move on and let's go through these games today a little bit quicker. We start with Brazil versus Japan at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And let's go into, for this one, our Level Up segment. This is Level Up presented by Football Manager 26. Discovering the future stars of the sport is one of our favorite things about FM and about the World Cup. And let's talk about a name that's been out there, but not at this level, in Ryan from Brazil. He has stepped in over the last 2 games in place of Rafinha along that right wing. He's already been bought by a Premier League team. He's already a Brazilian international. And yet it feels like he's gone somewhat under the radar and is now elevating into a big spot.
He started to introduce himself to the world with Bournemouth, getting more minutes, scoring some important goals, and a variety of different goals. I think of Ryan as the perfect mashup between Adriano, of Inter Milan fame, and Rafinha. Very similar skills that those two players have or had in Adriano's case. Acceleration, explosiveness, skill, an ability to shoot from whatever angle, quick trigger, a physical presence, and he's only 19. So I think that this is a guy who is going to explode onto the world stage in this World Cup. I think Rafinha's injury, and there's a lot of other things apparently going on behind closed doors with Rafinha and his father, is offering Ryan an opportunity to be one of the stars of this World Cup.
He's been great so far, and the Adriano thing is really because he's so comfortable getting inside and unleashing that quick, powerful shot with his left. The Rafinha thing is he is so unselfish and relentless with his off-ball movement, and it balances what they have on the other side of the field, and it just opens up pockets of space. And that's why in these quick transition moments, it's not the classic Brazil, right? It's not, they're knocking the ball around, stringing it. It's these quick transition moments, and he is just a force magnifier there, even when he doesn't even come near the ball.
By the way, let me just add one more thing. He's also a very good passer.
Yeah.
He sees the game really well. And if you're going to build a winger, an explosive winger who can do everything that a winger needs to do in modern football, Ryan is the prototype.
And you take a look at his FM profile here, and it shows a little bit of what you guys are talking about. For a 19-year-old, his strength is off the charts. His pressing and his defensive work is off the charts. You also see the range for his transfer fee is between 26 million and 79 million, which is where it sits of like in the eye of the beholder. There's a lot of potential. This was based off of coming out of last fall into this season where he played with Bournemouth. That number is going to leap because of what he's going to do at this World Cup, which is why it was a great buy for Bournemouth. But all of what shows and all of the stuff that is high on the list for him is that stuff you talked about, off the ball, work for the team, being composed, being a part of it. And I think it's why it allows a 19-year-old to play at the World Cup for Brazil, because he's not calling his own number. He's not getting in Vinicius' way. He's not getting in Mateus Cunha's way. They want him on the field because he can be a part of it.
You brought up Vinicius and Cunha. Cunha's inclusion in the 11, I think, changed the dynamic completely, because you want to release the wingers. You want to release either Rafinha or Vinicius. When you had Thiago, he's a much more static presence. Yeah. He's a much more traditional number 9. I'm glad they took him, if I'm a Brazilian fan, because late in the game, you need a box presence. He's the one who's going to give you that. But your best players are playing on the wing. And what better way to release them than to have somebody who can play in the false 9? Cunha, for me, is one of the most complete forwards in world football. Another guy with a lot of strength, a lot of skill, can shoot from any position on the field, and that's why I think when we were looking at the matchups, that's why I think Brazil are going to go really far in this tournament.
Football Manager's international mode is available now. Download it on Steam or your favorite console, PlayStation, Xbox, or Nintendo Switch, and take advantage of the current sale and save 50% through July 9th. So we just talked a lot about Ryan, what he brings to the team. The expectation is he'll be back in the starting lineup. Obviously, Vinicius right now, second in the Golden Boot race, having a strong tournament. They face off against Japan. And I put this on Blue Sky, talked about it. For Japan and Brazil, there's no greater international relationship, especially on the Japanese side. There is a massive population of Japanese people inside of Brazil. There's a fairly large Brazilian population in Japan, which is rare to have such a contingent of foreign people. And then the soccer connection is everything. Yeah. Japan, very similar to Canada, who we just talked about, is a new soccer culture. It's basically professionalized going into the 1998 World Cup after they were awarded the 02 World Cup. The league went fully professional in 1995. And as it's grown, all of the examples of early Japanese soccer culture are based in Brazil. So it was either Japanese players going to Brazil, playing in Brazilian academies, coming up through Brazil to represent the national team, or guys like Zico.
Yeah, Zico is like one of the great heroes of Japanese soccer.
Came to Japan even before the league was professional. There was basically men's leagues teams that companies ran, and the best players were all Brazilians who worked for the company and played for the team. So there's this fascinating cultural exchange that's going to happen. And then a pretty big soccer one, which is Japan's trying to break through. They believe that they are the team outside of the powers that has the chance to go far in this tournament. And now they come up against Brazil in the round of 32, which is absolutely brutal. And I wonder if for them, I think there's been some struggles in the group stage. And I think part of that is they have struggled to break teams down that have given them the ball. I don't know how this game plays out now with Brazil, who have not been great in possession, but you're Brazil and there's a responsibility on your shoulders going to this one. So how do you see the overall matchup?
I really like this Japanese national team. I think a lot of people expected them to be one of the dark horses in this tournament, and I feel bad that this is the matchup that they got in the round of 32, because they could beat a lot of teams that have made it to the round of 32. They have a terrible history against Brazil. I think they've won 1 out of their last 7 games. They have modeled. It's interesting because at this World Cup, Brazil have faced 2 nations that have modeled their footballing identity on Brazil: Haiti and now Japan. The cultural relevance that you've just underscored is so important. But for me, the issue that you've just highlighted, their inability to break a deep block, Japan's that is problematic. That's not to say that Brazil will sit in a deep block, but they will retreat and they will look to play in transition. And at a certain point, or at certain points during this game, I expect Japan to have a little bit more possession, believe it or not. They're not going to do, I don't think they're going to do what they did against the Netherlands, which is to sit back and just defer possession to Brazil. Because I'm not sure Brazil is going to let them do that.
Right.
They're going to give the ball away. And so what I foresee is that Brazil will cut them apart in transition with the speed and the physicality of players like Vinicius, Cunha, and Ryan. Yeah. And I actually expect Ryan to explode in this game if he starts.
It was a 51-49 possession split against Morocco for Brazil, which was slightly game states, gave up an early goal, had to push for it. Otherwise, Brazil's had more possession against Scotland and Haiti. What do you make of how this sort of plays out then?
Japan's physicality is off the charts in terms of how hard they come in on challenges and the amount of ground they cover.
How much bigger they've gotten, too.
Yeah, they're bigger team than they used to be. I think they're a little undisciplined.
Yeah.
I think they go chasing a lot, especially when they come up trying to force a turnover. And if you can play through that, then you could find space on the wings or in behind, and that's where Vinicius and Ryan. And the big thing about Brazil, since Cunha came in, it's a 4-3-3, but he drops in to make it a diamond. And suddenly you have multiple fulcrums who can hit those. And it's also up back through where it's like, okay, you play to break a line, playing to Cunha's feet. He just drops it to Casemiro.
Yeah.
And then few in the world are as good as playing those early balls into the channels. I think that's the danger for Japan. They lose their shape in rest defense chasing the ball.
They, one of the things that frustrated me about Japan against Sweden was it felt like when they got transition moments, they pull possession back to reset their rotations and bring their team back into it.
They scored one of the best goals in the World Cup doing
They
that.
spent 90 minutes trying to build that one goal, and they only scored one goal. And I worry that if they do that against Brazil, they put Brazil back into their strengths. And you're going to have to hit now. Back in 2022, they beat Spain and Germany because they went out quick in transition and they were able to score chances against the run of play and against the ball, which I think Doan is a lead at. I think Nakamura has shown he's happy to take guys on. If you get him the ball, he will go quickly. But this is a guy who's playing in the French second division now, going up against some of the best players on the planet in Brazil. So
that's the situation, that I anticipate. You know how you just said they tried to materialize that play that ultimately leads to the goal? They did that so often, and the way they do that is they really send a lot of players forward. And so many times against Sweden, that short-circuited, and it allowed Sweden to break. Sweden are a pretty good team up front in terms of the individual quality, Gyökeres and Alexander Isak. But the synchronicity that is developed over this World Cup between those three guys up top, and that ability from Guimarães and Casemiro to just hit the channels quickly is going to be Japan's undoing.
It won't surprise me if either team wins. I think it's that close. I think all of us picked Brazil in this one.
Do we know that if Itakura is back for Japan?
I do not.
Because he is their best distributor from that back. He's their anchor in the middle of that back line.
Came off early against...
minute?
Yeah. Maybe even earlier than that. I think it was like the 28th or something like that. So a lot to watch out for in this one. It's going to be one of the best games of the round. The second game of today, Germany versus Paraguay, 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. That one's up in Boston for a chance to, as we said, go to Philadelphia on July 4th and face off against the winner of France and Sweden. It feels like one of the most straightforward games in that Paraguay have very few abilities to change the way they play. They are going to come and try and sit in and hit against the counter and try and create chances. And they've been underwhelming the entire World Cup. So unless Germany pulls a turkey and decides they can't score personally, I think this game feels straightforward. I guess the question for Germany is, have they learned things from all the subs that have affected games? Do they change the starting lineup, or is it the same 11?
Well, before we went on the show, I was saying that I was underwhelmed by Germany, and you guys pushed back at that a little bit.
You said you were most underwhelmed by them, and we pushed back that other teams have been more underwhelming.
Okay, so what has whelmed you about Germany so far?
I guess, so I would start with I don't have huge expectations for this team. I think they are between the 8th and 12th best team on the planet right now.
So you're getting a good whelming.
Yeah, I feel fairly whelmed.
Okay.
And I think overall, defensively, they've been fairly structured. Schlotterbeck's injury is massive.
Yep.
And I thought they should have lost to Ivory Coast. So clearly for me,
they were second best to Curacao for half the first half, man.
So for me, I guess I don't change a lot. I do like the pairing in midfield. I think the two of them cover a ton of ground and create chances, but I went with you, which is there's very little direct play in this team, whether it's as individuals or in their passing. Most of the good chances they've created are one of those two coming out of midfield and adding another runner. Musiala has played passive throughout the tournament. I think Wirtz is still not healthy from a year ago, which is part of the issues that he had at Liverpool. Sané is not a German national team starter at their best right now. And I think that's part of why Undav has been successful is when he comes off the bench in game states, they go direct. They start to knock balls down, and he's able to finish.
They look like 1990s Germany.
And that's probably their best case scenario. The question is, can you do that for 90 minutes, or is it really only a curveball to throw after you've thrown the fastball for 60 minutes?
I think at the beginning of this show, I said Ivory Coast beat Germany, right? But that's because the Ivory Coast were so much better. It ended 2-1 for Germany that game. No, did it? I'm confused.
2-1 for Germany, and then Germany lost to
Ecuador. That's right. And I got confused because the Ivory Coast were so much better in midfield, in particular against the Germans, that I forgot that Undav came off the bench to score a brace. You mentioned Schlotterbeck, big miss, mostly in terms of defensive positioning at the back, because Rudiger is a wild card. He can be one of the best defenders in the world, and he can be the guy who shoots himself in the foot. Jonathan Tah is a good defender. I think he's done pretty well in this tournament. I think the defensive issues for Germany are that there's so much movement in the midfield that it opens up lanes for whoever is attacking. Paraguay doesn't offer that much in an attacking sense, although Julio Enciso can make something out of nothing. It is amazing. You know, I've covered him for so many years. I used to call his games when he was playing for Libertad, and you always knew that the ability was there. It's not consistent enough, but sometimes there are flashes from Julio Enciso where you think, wow, he could be one of the best players in the world at one point, but it's just him on the attacking end. So I think this should be fairly easy for Germany, and I don't think we're going to see the Paraguay that capitulated against the United States. I think we're going to see a more disciplined and a better team, but there's just too much talent, particularly in the attacking third. For everything that you'll say about Leroy Sané, he is still a very quality player who can cut in and score an amazing goal.
He'd be the best player on Paraguay.
100%. Well, would he be better than Enciso? I don't know. But
yes, he would.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true.
Okay, let's move to the final game of the day, which is in competition with Brazil. Japan as the best of the round, which gets us started nice and quickly. 9 p.m. Eastern time. This one's in Monterrey. Netherlands against Morocco. So outside at a little bit of altitude for two teams that have played in fairly controlled conditions, both playing inside.
It's a little bit of altitude.
I said a little bit.
Oh, yeah, a little bit. It's like 1,200
Sorry,
feet.
were you not here last week when we talked about how Europe just doesn't have climate or environment of any sort? They literally live in a country that's called the Lowlands in Spanish, where they are heading. For Morocco, credit. They've got Atlas Mountains, they've got desert.
They do.
But also half these people grew up in Spain or France or Belgium, or the Netherlands.
Spain has mountains.
Yeah, or the Netherlands. Yeah, Spain has mountains. That's a really good point. Grinding through the Bilbao Mountains to get a performance.
Oviedo. I'm more of an Oviedo guy.
God, I can't believe we're going to do this for a second time today, or this week. But to get started, we do have a little bit of a fun segment to do. We've been doing this with Soccer.com, who, of course, we are really excited, is our sponsor for a lot of our show. They've sponsored our USMNT coverage. We will have a live show after the Bosnia and Herzegovina game. Our preview is already up, myself and Doyle talking for 45 minutes about what we expect to see and where it stands. But one of the things we've been doing with them is some of the all-time great kits for some of these countries. And, of course, you can go to soccer.com and you can take a look at the new kit and you can go there and buy it. And, Jordan, if you bring us up here, this is the modern kit.
Which so sharp.
And one of the things about the Netherlands that everyone knows is that they wear orange, and the orange stands out in such a way. It's because of William and the House of Orange, which became the royal family, I don't know, 700 years ago.
Quite a bit of a history lesson
500 years ago. I love the history that gets involved in some of this stuff.
Timeline's a little off, but, we get it.
I know. I don't remember the 1500s. Is that wrong? Well, William of Orange is the one that goes to England, but the Orange family had already taken over in the Netherlands. So this is the modern kit, which I would say is up there amongst the Dutch kits that they've had. The black collar, a thin one. You get the crest right in the middle, which I'm a huge fan of. I feel like it gives the players a we are carrying the crest forward type thing. So you can go on soccer.com, you can take a look at this, and I think it's one of the best kits they've had. But they've also had a lot of really good ones. So I've got a couple up here. I'm going to go back, I think, straight off the bat to 1998.
Yeah, that's a classic.
And it's just, it's a big black collar. It's the orange kit. I assume this thing was 112 pounds.
First player that comes to mind, quick.
Dennis Bergkamp.
Bergkamp, of course.
For me, it's Edgar Davids for some reason.
Okay, that's a good one.
I thought it was going to be Frank de Boer.
Frank de Boer.
And if you've never seen it,
Dennis Bergkamp.
go watch the highlight in 1994.
No, 96.
No,
Or
it's 94.
98, rather.
No, it's 94, I believe.
What?
No,
That
the-
goal was
no,
in the
The
US.
Dutch,
19
missed the 94
Yeah.
World Cup.
No, they didn't. They
No,
lost
they
to
didn't.
Brazil
They
in the
lost to Brazil.
quarterfinals.
Beto scored in that one.
Yeah.
Stan Valks at the back.
Is it that goal is
It's
98?
98. It's at the Velodrome against Argentina.
Oh, nice.
And
It's one of the great goals of all
Yeah,
time, but the
great-
broadcast
great
call
goal calls,
is even
yeah.
better. The guy just in a Dutch accent, keeps screaming Dennis Bergkamp's name over and over and over
Dutch
again.
missed 02.
sorry?
The Dutch missed 02.
Yes, they missed the 02 World Cup.
Yes,
the
they
Dutch
did, yeah.
are boom and bust. They either miss the World Cup or they go to a final and lose. And there's kind of no in between. So their history is a little bit wild. Speaking of the final, so this is 2010 where they played terrorist soccer for most of the World Cup. But it's a really clean kit. And I think Arjen Robben, probably Rafael van der Vaart, I don't know. There are a few players that come to mind.
Wesley
with some of these-
Sneijder.
Nigel de Jong.
Yeah, Wesley Sneijder. But this was a really clean look for them. For the most part, I think with the Dutch, you go back to a little bit of history. Now this,
2004.
yeah, because they missed the 02 World Cup where many of the people wore this. Now this one's less unique in that everyone, I knew you were going to do that, everyone really that was Nike wore them. And yet if I see this kit, because I have the Landon Donovan kit of this in 04 right here in
Nike
the corner.
had a template, and they used it for basically
But yet
everybody.
when you see anyone, you think of the Dutch one first because the orange makes it the most iconic, which makes it...
No. I think of the Portuguese first. But yeah, second is the orange.
And then this to me is the all-time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
1988, it's the one trophy that they've won. It was the European Championships. It's got the texture to it. It's got the old school Adidas logo. It's got the crest as well.
I'd wear that to the nightclub.
Huh?
I'd wear that to the nightclub.
Okay.
Marco van Basten.
Good to know what you'd be wearing. Marco van Basten scores one of the great goals in
Ever.
world history
Yeah.
against the USSR in the final. Another one with some iconic players. And then the last one I had in here, because you always have to have Johan Cruyff, is 1974. And he wore a long sleeve like half the tournament, which is class. And it's basically a sweater. So you can wear this one to the nightclub too.
I'd wear that one to the office.
And you can make some friends. They also have it as a short sleeve, but it is, I don't know. I mean, I guess you can't go wrong with orange. So there's part of that, but it is one of the great kits of all time. And I think it's one where if you buy a Dutch kit here, especially if you've been in Kansas City or Dallas, these cities that they've invaded, but if you buy a Dutch kit, I think it's one of those things where you'll never be sad because in the future it just becomes, oh man, you had the 2026 one. Like, that's a great one. I have friends who are Dutch who have older ones that at the time were like, oh, this is the standard jersey of the year. And then as each year rolls forward, you're like, I wish I had that throwback Wesley Sneijder jersey.
And that's what you get when you have an iconic look.
Right.
Right? And
Be bold.
Mexico has it as well with that wonderful green that's over David's shoulder over there. And it's what we all want for the U.S. is to have an iconic look that you see it and you know who you're talking about, who you're watching on TV, who you're watching at the World Cup, Copa America, whatever.
Let's talk about who we'll be watching on TV. Thank you so much, Jordan. And let's talk about the game. Netherlands versus Morocco. They are two teams that have had huge question marks. We kind of, clear based off the bracket that we were split. We were split on them winning this game. We were split on any of these teams going forward. Huge unknowns. You talked a little bit about the tactical wrinkles that have come from this group, Doyle. And one thing to note, which, I think as a show, sending love to Cody Gakpo and his family, where the news came out over the last few days that his wife had a stillborn birth and he went home to be with her and has come back into the team. It is one of those things that has to affect a person mentally coming into this because it couldn't not affect anyone. So we're hoping for the best for him and his family. And he's been a huge factor for this team over the last 4 years. You go to the 2022 World Cup, which was really, I think, his breakout for many people. 2024 Euros, where this was a team that came in with few expectations. He helped carry them to a semifinal. And now this World Cup, where they are maybe not the Dutch people think of when they think of the game. And a lot of that is aged because I would say the 2010 and 2014 teams were not the Dutch.
No, that was not total football.
No, but his finishing, his effectiveness, and they seem to have unlocked him once again.
Yeah, the movement that they've had in the way they get to that sort of 3-2-4-1 has been really interesting and unlike any other team at the tournament. Like I said, Frankie de Jong is dropping out of central midfield into a left center back in the 3, which pushes Van de Ven up the left side, and he's purely a defensive presence. And that what they do is they get the ball on de Jong's foot, and off the dribble, he is one of the best ball progressors in the world. So it completely changes how teams can defend against the Dutch, and at the same time, it allows Gakpo to come inside and have like a partnership with, mostly now it's Brian Brobby, who's I think probably going to continue to start.
There's no chance he doesn't start. I think the bigger question is if it's Malen or Somerville alongside them.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And it allows Gakpo to get on the ball in the channel with a little bit of space to face up and combine or to just run at someone. And when he does that, he's really something.
Yeah, I was thinking about the way they played defensively. That De Jong wrinkle is a really interesting one. What's curious is that in doing that, they don't have a proper up and down traditional fullback on the left-hand side, and they attack asymmetrically.
Yeah.
So they're
Dumfries
they stretch a lot with Dumfries on the right. Everything is very tucked in on the left, and because Dumfries is going to stretch, that's why I don't think that Somerville is going to start, and Malen fits in well because he's good at connecting play. He can actually run off of Broby up top because Broby is one of the best hold-up players that we've seen in the World Cup so far. So my only thing is, will Morocco figure out a way to exploit the lack of verticality and the lack of width on the left side for the Dutch?
So what's fascinating is Hakimi, of course.
Right. He's going to use that. He's going to use that.
And the way you pin a guy back is you attack them.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things the Dutch aren't really capable of. And
they will release Van de Ven up into the attack, and he doesn't add much except for a body.
Yeah.
He's the fastest player at the World Cup so far. Yeah. So like you could let him go. You could let him push as high as he wants, and he has recovery speed like nobody else. So a lot of what they've done feels weirdly like it's been aimed specifically at Morocco. Like this is, if you're gonna have a blueprint for how to maybe bottle up Hakimi and make him at least be less influential, I feel like it would be this.
Do you feel, last thoughts on Netherlands. Everybody's talked about Portugal's midfield, Spain's midfield, and a few others. I look at this trio for the Netherlands, Gravenberch, De Jong, and Reinders, and I see so much balance. They all have distinctive profiles that complement each other.
See, I feel totally opposite. I feel like there's so much overlap in their skill sets. And I'm not the biggest Koeman guy, but he has come up with a kind of ingenious solution with the way he's dropping De Jong out of the midfield that then allows Reinders and Gravenberch to be kind of like north-south players who drive the game whenever they get on the ball.
But Reinders is more of like a tight spaces maneuverer, whereas somebody like Gravenberch uses his physicality, his size, to trot forward and become an unstoppable force.
But none of them picked the lock with the last pass.
No,
Very few of them are goal scorers. Reinders is the most, I think, he's the most intelligent crasher, where pullbacks, which this team doesn't really create outside of Dumfries, which I think has their goals he scores for Man City that aren't there for this team. But to say that, I think you see the issue with Spain, where everyone wants to come and be on the ball and doesn't connect, and Portugal as well.
And I would say that sometimes that sort of trequartista, that lock picker, is a little bit overvalued for some teams. And I think when you have the size, the athleticism, the skill, the goal scoring, the defensive presence that this team has, I don't think you need a Wesley Schneider in the middle of that midfield.
I think that's been the case so far, but coming into this tournament, I was like, maybe Kluivert has to start in central midfield for them, because I thought they did need that guy to pick locks.
He's a great guy off the
bench. We haven't really talked on the other side. We mentioned Hakimi, who's obviously a huge factor. Brahim Diaz has been a big piece of this team playing out on that right side. It feels like with the addition of Saibari, who is one of the players that has this connection to the Dutch, It's allowed Brahim Diaz to go out and find the game more because they had played him at center forward over the last 4 years off and on. And then El Khanous is the young piece that they, I think, have put a lot of pressure on.
He's lively.
We saw in the Brazil game, Buati really control things from midfield to knock it around. And then the other 2 games are harder to read. But obviously they go up early against Scotland. They don't impress for the next 88 minutes. And then against Haiti, they come out, they go down twice. They come back, they put up 4, and that was the most explosive open game. But for this Morocco team, I expect this to look a lot like Brazil. I think they'll come out aggressive. I think they'll try and control the game by controlling the tempo. I think they'll feel comfortable playing at a 50-50 style where they don't need to overextend and open things up because they have shown over the last 4 years they are a tournament team. If you get into tight games late on, they're going to believe that they'll have a 1%, whether it's a set piece, whether it's a throw-in, whether it's a transition moment, or a referee giving them a call and then the CAF giving them the trophy, that they'll get over the top. But that was the story in 2022. They have grown since then, but not at the leaps and bounds to go out and change the game completely. And I think the advantage they have here is for the rare time for a team outside of the blue blood Big Six, they'll believe late in games if it's close that they're the ones who will get over the line.
I mean, they're the 7th ranked team in the FIFA rankings, and Netherlands are 8. Yeah. So it is that tight, and they do have the on-the-job know-how from having done it 4 years ago and having, I'll say, made it to AFCON final. I'm not going to say one AFCON. And then just in terms of raw talent, man for man, there's no gap here. They're not going to go into this feeling the least bit intimidated by playing the Dutch in the knockout round. I don't know exactly how they're going to want this game to play out. I don't think they're going to be as low block and negative as they were against Brazil. That just doesn't. We've seen you can get at that Dutch back line over the course of this tournament. You can create chances against them. And I think that I've been waiting to see that version of Morocco, and we mostly haven't in this tournament.
I think they'll actually have more possession than the Netherlands.
Yeah,
both these teams will tussle for possession, but at some point, Koeman is going to realize that you can attack this team efficiently in transition, and you've got the pieces to do that. Interestingly, you mentioned that the Dutch don't have that lock picker. I look at the midfield for Morocco, and I see a lot of guys who can be that guy. There's also positional interchanges that they've displayed and have the ability to display that I think could be problematic for a more static defensive posture from the Dutch. And Saibari has been one of the standouts for me in the tournament, not only because of his movement, but his ability to finish in different situations has stood out more than almost anybody who has scored in this tournament. He's not banging them from outside of the 18, but he's making great runs off the shoulder. He can chip it. He can hit it hard. I mean, that goal that he scores at the near post where he basically, what did Zlatan say? He was aiming for the head to take the goalkeeper's head off. This is a very, very good team. And I picked the Netherlands just because I think they're just going to edge them out. Yeah,
so one of the things that I think has been really big, and I think if Japan could go back and replay the group stage, they would come out more aggressive against the Netherlands in the
100%.
first game. It took them 45 minutes. Morocco has scored in the 21st minute against Brazil, the 2nd minute against Scotland. So they've started strong. They've started on the front foot. I think that's what gives them the advantages. I think they're going to come out and take the game early. And whether they score or not in that, I think it sets the tone for the game. And the Dutch, we've only seen them 35 minutes play against the ball because of the nature of the group stage. They looked really, really uncomfortable against Japan. And they sat 9 in the box. They had no way to get out, and they looked very unsure of themselves. Tunisia incapable of doing that. Sweden incapable of doing that. And now I think Morocco looks at it and says, that's how we go and win this game. So I agree with you that they'll take more possession from this one. I had Morocco winning. You both had the Dutch, right? All right, so we'll come back here tomorrow.
Can I just make one quick point about this
team?
It
better be about how Morocco's going to win. And
that I find really interesting. Well, it could help them. This is a team that can both manage moments in the game, but can also be reactive. From what I saw in the group, there are games where they completely control the tempo, but I'll go back to the game against Brazil. There were times where they sat back comfortably. It wasn't the best Brazil. I understand that. But they seemed very comfortable in that defensive posture. And then at points, they felt like, okay, let's take the game to Brazil. And they could build comfortably as well. So I think that whatever the game presents, whatever the Netherlands presents, Morocco will be able to adjust without too many problems.
Saibari startup tap or El Kabi?
I think it's Saibari.
Saibari.
Yeah.
I think so too.
All right. That's all for us here today. Guess what? We're going to come back and do this again tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Jordan is very excited about that. Let me leave you all with one little fact that I didn't get to drop into the show. Canada-South Africa was the first time two teams from not CONMEBOL or UEFA were in a knockout round game that didn't include the U.S. So the U.S.-Mexico.
First time in World Cup history.
Yeah. U.S.-Mexico and USA-Ghana.
Yeah.
And basically the nature of all of this tournament that for the first time is happening, and obviously 48 teams has changed everything, is like we could have told you 5 years ago if it was a 32-team World Cup what group the U.S. would be and who was in it. Because the nature of how things got drawn, the amount of teams that got in, so there was not a deeper roster of African teams or Asian teams getting in. The U.S. was going to play Iran and either Ghana or a different African team at every single World Cup. And now things have changed a little bit. So that Canada-South Africa game, historic on its own. Canada, of course, historic in that they are the first CONCACAF team to advance since Costa Rica. That's not the U.S. or Mexico since 2014. And now we've got another list of teams that are going to try and do something special and do something different. And I think that's one of the things that's really, really fun about this World Cup. The group stage was about vibes and stories and underdogs. Now we're into the gigantes. Now we're into the dominant forces, all of us doing our brackets. And the question is, who's the dark horse in there? We landed on Colombia. We've talked a little bit about Ivory Coast. Morocco's obviously a big one. Japan's a big one, Ecuador as well, and of course the three host countries. We're going to continue to cover all of this for the World Cup. Reminder, our Bosnia USMNT preview is in the SoccerWise feed already, so you can go check that one out. It's of course on YouTube as well. And our post-game show will be live after that match here from the studio. So thank you to all of you for watching. Thank you to all of you for being here. Big shout out to Jordan, Connor, Theo, and everyone else involved. And we will talk to you all again very, very soon.